Welcome to Free Burn. This is Matt Ballard, your host. This is the podcast where we talk all things mental and behavioral health in the first responder community. Real life firefighters, police officers, EMTs and paramedics, clinicians, and doctors. It's time we have the real conversation and burn the stigma behind first responder mental health, one podcast at a time. Welcome back, folks. It's Matt Ballard for Free Burn 2023. Today we have a longtime friend, coworker, Adam Brooks, firefighter, EMT for the city of Balch Springs. Adam Brooks has been there for 18 years, 38 years old, married, 2 kids, born in the great state of Texas, Dallas to be specific. Isn't that right, Adam?
Yeah, that's right, Dallas, and grew up in Mesquite, right next door.
Yeah.
And then moved to a small town of 1 stop sign, 1 gas station, 1 church.
Right on.
Big change after that.
Yeah.
But that was a lot better.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're on, man. I thank you for trusting us and doing this. I know it's not always easy to share your story, so thank you for advance and for coming on and willing to share, brother.
Thanks for the invite, because that's it's important for you, for me, for those that are listening.
Yep.
And like you said before, it's about them.
Today we are at 52 deaths already by suicide, reported deaths, and I think they're at 60% accuracy. So I'm sure it's probably a little bit higher than that. There's probably a lot that hasn't been reported. So 52, 39 firefighters, 13 EMTs. That's where we're at already this year. Totals for last year were 93, 80 firefighters, 12 EMTs, and 1 dispatcher. So something's going on, man, and that's what we're here for, to try to get to the bottom of it and just have that conversation and just let people know that there's other options besides suicide. Get out there and get some help and find the right resources, and man, just keep continuing your life. It's not always easy, but it's possible. You got 2 guys sitting right in front of you right now that can show that it's possible. So with that being said, brother, let's get into it. Let's tell us a little bit about your journey, man.
Yeah, sure. Real quick, going off of what you were just saying, when we had those statistics where it was a cardiac arrest or, natural things going on with our body that were killing us, or, of course still do, or it was, they were a little bit more understandable. This is kind of getting into that realm where we're just now trying to scratching that surface, right? So I do want to share some things today that it's not popular, it's not fun to hear sometimes. Quite honestly, it can be kind of embarrassing for the person telling it. It can be fearful, but you know what? That's got to stop for me. My story's got to be told, like so many others have, to help that number decline and see it back down, not at 1 anymore, at least.
That's the end goal. Obviously, that's the end goal, right? But I'm sitting there looking at this too. It was 2010, by the way, when they started reporting, from what I see on their site. But 52, bro. I mean, already this year.
Yeah.
Until that number is at 0, I will never.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely.
I just want to throw that in there.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so like we've already established, I was born here in Texas, Dallas. Been born and raised in the DFW Metroplex all of my life. That's all I know. I'm proud of that too. So, as I think sharing some early childhood stories or just going in from the beginning is a good. I was born. I have a 5-year-old, a brother that's 5 years older than me. I was born into a family that was already divorced, broken family. so didn't know any difference right off the bat from that really at all. Divorce is so common anyways. There was a lot of us that were in that boat growing up,
Yep.
friends and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I had a stepdad in my early years that honestly, I can't even remember him really being a part of my life to an extent that a dad should be. I can't remember it.
Right.
But I was grateful that God sent in a stepdad in my life that my mom's still married to this day. In about my 6th grade year, so he kind of came in that right spot still, where there was a lot of opportunity for to raise a kid. He just really, I mean, you want to talk about like the dad who was out there throwing the football with me and helping me with sports. And one of the best things I ever did was get into sports, football to be exact, because it just helped me learn to be in that team atmosphere. It allowed me to be a part of a lot of guys, older guys, coaches in particular, that really I could see, be around a lot of men. And
Yeah.
some of them were veterans and of Vietnam and all of that too. So, you get to really experience some good tough love at the same time going through all the
Yeah.
football thing. But, my own relationship with my dad, he passed away a few years back from a stroke, a sudden stroke at work and out of the blues. Like I said,
Yeah.
real heavy drinking problem. I'm sure he had his own mental issues to deal with. My dad saw him every other weekend type deal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't blame him for anything.
Right.
Whether that's some of these things caused growing up, whatever, into adulthood, yeah, whatever. I mean, I never really put 2 and 2 together on that. Heck, I'm just living my life and have God sent a lot of great men
Yeah.
in to help with that. But I share all that because there's probably a lot of maybe there's a lot of guys listening that, or women too, that just didn't have that dynamic growing up.
Right.
Uh,
I know it played a part with me, a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, like,
Okay.
it wasn't like my dad wasn't there. He was there, but it was like, probably listened to it on my first podcast. Just wasn't around a whole lot, I
Right.
did see him every other
Absolutely.
weekend, but there was a whole nother set of circumstances that played a
Right.
part in that too. But it did play a small little part in some of my stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. I probably shouldn't deny it didn't do something. I mean, there's probably something in the background there. But so I've shared before too that coming up, into high school, I was a junior in high school when 9/11 happened.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it was a time period where getting ready to graduate almost, and I had some decisions to make about my career path. I graduated in May of 03, so we, as a nation, went to war in the March of that year, 03. So I was wanting to join the military. It was pretty heavy on my heart. But Melissa, my wife now, we were dating at the time. So it was just kind of hard to break that, just that. I mean, that was a big deciding factor, obviously. I knew that I looked into being a state trooper, wanted to do something in that realm. I didn't know it was going to be firefighting until at an early age. I remember one day I was at my grandparents' house and we had this, it was at Lake June and Masters. So it was it was a busy part of town for Dallas Fire Department, and for sure it is today. But oh heck, that was probably 30 something years ago now. I remember I remember a lot of car wrecks happening on that street. You could hear it from the road. She was like the second one from Masters on that side street.
And that's where they lived at, right?
Yeah,
Grandma?
yeah. And I'd go over there and visit. Man, we'd hear those car wrecks happen, run out there and see what was going on, and see all the ambulances and fire trucks show up. And heck, man, I probably saw 2 or 3 structure fires, Dallas fighting structure fires on at 5 years old,
right,
till all the way to 8 years old. So it was like it had this impact on me that I knew I wanted to do something in that realm,
right,
at an early age.
That's right outside our district. For people that don't know,
absolutely,
that's odd that you came almost back to square one to be a fireman.
It is, isn't it? It's a small world, like they say. It just does not. It just amazes me every time that stuff like that happens.
Right.
So graduated high school. Well, a little bit before we graduated high school, I had a good friend of mine that we played football together and everything. And he's like, of course, graduated the same year. He's like, hey man, we go out to East Texas and go to this fire academy. And
I think I know that dude.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, yeah, let's go together. And definitely. And a lot of the deciding factor in that was my brother being 4 years prior to me going to academy. He was already hired in Garland, and to this day he still works there. So now it's kind of evolving into this clear path of what I'm going to do. And before going to academy, during academy, even testing the 12 times that it takes most of us, or more, a couple years, 3-4 years for some.
Yeah. We talked about the one and done guys. I was not a one and done. So you wasn't a one and done guy either.
No, you see, they had algebra on these things and on these tests.
Right.
And that's a problem for somebody who doesn't understand algebra.
Yeah. I'm right there with you, brother.
Give me something else, I don't know.
Yeah.
Shoot. Let me wrestle somebody.
No kidding, man.
Just let me do some physical work to test. I mean, I know that's part of the test too, but good Lord.
Yeah.
So we graduate fire academy, and it's on the job hunt. So it comes around that I test for Balch Springs. I actually failed the test first go around in the oral interview because I was so dang nervous.
Yeah.
I didn't know which way was up. Gosh, that was a whole different ball game to me. That being afraid of speaking in front of people, and then you have that deciding your next 30 years. That was just too much.
When you did that first interview, 21?
20 years old. I was 20 years old at that time.
You're still just a baby, man.
Yeah. The only people I talked in front of were friends, and it was very casual. So it wasn't anything dealing with this type of pressure.
Mm-hmm.
So test around a few places. Just like I say, the first testing, the first cycle of tests, I just couldn't get through. So finally this one came back around again, Balch Springs, and the Lord showed his favor and gave me some confidence that second go around, and it worked out. Started out on, I'm sorry.
You got hired in what year? 2023?
So I got hired in November of 2005. 2005, yeah.
Yeah. 2023. What am I talking about? You've been there way longer than that.
Well, it is 2023. So
yeah, exactly. 2005, you get hired.
Yeah, get hired. Start out on C shift and really loving my crew. And we know back then just the amount of experience you were getting was insane. According to the, in relation to the Metroplex, we were just getting, it was equivalent, I would assume, to Dallas in some areas, in respect to the amount of fires and the wrecks on the highways that, interstates that went through our city and everything.
Yeah.
So, I come off that rookie year with quite a lot of experience in my book. I know that was just only 1 year, but there were so many guys that other departments that I was hearing that didn't even have the amount in 20 years.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
We were the exception to the rule there for a long time as far as fighting fires and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. You just had to be there to understand it. I mean, we were really fighting fires all the time. It seemed like,
man,
running wrecks.
you remember you'll be on one fire, you'll clean it up, and then you'll get called out for another one. I mean, right?
Yeah. That's happened several times back in the day.
Yeah, it wasn't uncommon in some months of the year.
Yeah.
But hey, we were young and we enjoyed that. So
loved it. Loved every second of it.
Yeah, that was great.
I mean, obviously, it was just somebody's house to burn down, but I mean, we're there to do a job, and
that's right.
We did it. Yeah, for sure.
And I will say that going off of that note, that I never had anybody in those early years lose their life to any fire. It was one later on in my career that
same here.
That happened. Yeah, and but it was the wrecks, man. It was the trauma. Seeing horror movies type stuff in the wrecks was playing a big part, I think, in what was about to come.
Right.
So, continuing on, I get off of my rookie year, and 2 weeks after my rookie year, man, they lay it down on me. Hey, you're moving to B shift. And that come from chief of the department. I'm like, I was devastated.
I don't remember. Why did they move you for? I don't remember why they moved you.
So me and Trey had been moved over on C shift. And then when, for some odd reason, we almost had the same year experience, same amount of time in, and they just moved me back over to B shift instead of him. So, yeah, it was a weird deal. I don't know. It all works out, right? I guess.
Well, he went to to C shift, right?
So I worked with him for 6 months as all my rookie year with him, and then got moved over to B shift. So
that's right. Yeah.
Devastating, man. It was just a whirlwind. Like, wow, you just get used to a group of guys, and then all of a sudden, just bam. I thought we had years left to be with each other and continue to fight some fire and everything. But you move on, and you're a man, so you just kind of put your man britches on and you work. You're still fighting fire. We're still. I come on shift with you, and we're still just getting after it. Absolutely tearing it up. I mean, it was just insane how much fire was going on in the wrecks. But so fast forward a little bit. I don't know, 5+ years in, you kind of get accumulated. There's a accumulation of a lot of stuff right there. And I remember on a few calls just going home, and there wasn't you always heard in the book and textbooks and stuff about CISD and stuff, but that was only in the textbooks for me and us. That was just answers on a test. That wasn't real life. And we would just go home, or I would, and basically just get emotional over it on my own and cry my eyes out, and just, it really was that way. Think about it for weeks on end. And finally that would leave. Things would seem like they were getting better, and then you would hit that next call that messed you up, and then so on and so forth. I think a combination with that, and for those that don't understand, living with a group of guys that often and staying with them, it can be stressful too. We're all men. We're all trying to, we love each other and we're brothers, but man, it can be stressful with that many relationships and hard heads, I should say.
Yeah. Especially when you're dealing with the amount of stress that we dealt with in that city, not only from call volumes, but just not saying anything bad about the department or the city. I mean, it was just living life, right? But I mean, there's a lot of stressors there. We wasn't making a lot of money back then, so you had that stressor outside of the department, but then also you had the stressors of, not doing the critical incident stress debriefings or, stuff like that when we're running these bad calls, whether it's fatality accidents or child CPRs or whatever they are. I mean, you run the gamut, right? I mean, it's everything.
Yeah.
And when you're not doing that stuff, it just starts stacking. And that's exactly what happened to me. And, we've talked, I can't tell you how many times, but yeah, I think it's very similar for you too. It's just that stacking of traumas, both outside and
Yeah.
inside, that just eventually run its course on you.
I believe so. And you saying that, a lot of people need to hear what we're saying, because I think it's so, even though scenarios and the little bit tidbits here of people's journey is different,
Yeah.
I think a lot of it can be the same. And so they need to hear what's going on. When I was 25, so I would already been on the department 4 years. When I was 26, I had my first child, a daughter, and then 2 years after that, had my son. So it's been about 8 or 9 years in now, where, well, maybe 10 years, 10, 12 years in that the child, I've been spared up to this point on child incidents,
Right.
calls. But seems like it hit when I did have one that child was the same age as Carter. So, and that was under 1 year of age.
Right.
That child had passed away, and that was the first one there that, like, whoa, okay, that was crazy.
Yeah.
It's
eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, very, very much so. It's just a lot of people just don't experience. I mean, most people, right, don't experience that connection at all.
No. Yeah.
That's very weird and not normal to experience.
It's just not natural. Yeah, to see that happen, it's just not natural.
So, I mean, like, another unnatural thing was my very first CPR as a rookie was 34-year-old in a nursing home.
Yeah.
A male that, like, that was just strange.
Being that young, yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so
that's not common for somebody that young.
You expect 80, 90 years old that, hey, man, it's still tough to,
right.
You're doing CPR on somebody, but someone that young at a nursing home. Anyways, so 10, 12 years in now, we're sitting, in that middle area of according to where I'm at now.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, the fires kind of slowed down. Those weren't the stressful things. The wrecks even today continue on. That's the main trauma thing right there.
Yeah.
You have a lot of these calls that are just, it's not I've heard other people say this too, that blood and guts is one thing, but when it personalizes the call, that's where it is weird. That's where it gets weird for your brain.
Mm-hmm. The five senses.
The what?
The five senses.
Okay.
Have you talked about that in therapy and stuff like that? Like seeing, smelling, hearing?
Well, yeah, now that you describe what you're saying, yeah. I thought it was that simple.
Triggering things. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Yeah. You do get those triggers.
Mm-hmm.
Where whatever, sometimes you see or smell or hear something. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Brings that back. So as I'm going on in my career, at this point, it's right around the time that I had my kids. They're young. Rewind just a little bit. My first bout with any kind of anxiety or anything like that was back in the first year, about 06 was the time frame. I just had gotten married, got the fire department job, and got my first house within 6 months. So, go figure. I mean, that's just a lot for 21-year-old.
Yeah, a lot on your shoulders now.
For sure.
Yeah.
So went through a few months of like, just, whoa, this is a huge deal. Just trying to take all that in. Finally, that passes. all right, we're moving on with life. We have kids, young ones at this point, and anyone knows that that's obviously going to add some stress too. But, I started noticing that at work, I really, I really couldn't handle. I don't know if it was because of the mental trauma that I went through that's all coming together at this point. That
Mm-hmm.
as a kid, maybe, and then all these calls and stuff, and I'm getting real irritable with folks at work and at home. Really anxious around groups,
Yeah.
and to the point where if somebody was to make me upset, I mean, it wasn't nothing for me just to go off and have to apologize later.
Sure.
Almost like you just couldn't control it, I guess. That's an excuse, but it just seemed like it.
I've been there. You probably remember some of them.
Maybe we did that together. And
I remember some of yours. Just be fair about it, right?
Hey, man, and it's crazy. It's like
We can laugh on this side of it because,
oh yeah,
and obviously we still can get upset about stuff, but that's a whole nother story.
yeah. You kind of know the background of why it is now, huh?
Yeah. It's a little bit easier to overcome those things now. Sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes, yeah.
And then just use your resiliency and, techniques to bring yourself back down into that green area and get out of that red as fast as you can, kind of thing. Yeah.
That's right. So, I'm continuing on working there, and I get this weird feeling one day that I just can't be around the group, and I have to go to the back bunk. And that was the first time. This happened like multiple times where my heart rate would rise up to 120 beats a minute.
Yeah.
I had to sit there and do breathing exercises in my bunk, and I wasn't going to let anybody know that it was happening. Didn't want to make a big deal on it. Just whatever.
Yeah.
And
that's that stigma. That's that stigma, brother.
Yeah, I think at that point, I probably didn't even know that that's what it was at the time, but just I didn't know the name to put on it. But yeah, it was definitely there. Like, I ain't letting nobody know I got this going on. Shoot, we're about to get tones dropped, and we're gonna do our job.
Right.
So I'd calm down and I'd go back up to the front and everything, and I remember the relief it was to just get off work, but I'd go home and be by myself, and it just at some point it got to where I wasn't even doing daily chores anymore at home. It was laying in bed all day, and it turned into months of this stuff, and it turned into this is where I already told you about my first anxiety kind of issue, and then now this is my first thoughts of what suicide maybe is like, or that's the whole crazy realm right there that starts up. And
suicide ideations.
Yeah. Not acting on anything at that time.
Just having those thoughts.
Yeah. Which, so at that point, months of this goes on, and when I'm at home, I'm not paying attention to my family. I've got the TV on, and I'm just staring straight at it, and I can't think about anything else but this weird way I'm feeling, and can't do anything about it. So I'm just feel really strange. And we get to the point where I finally have a nervous breakdown at home one day, and my wife is like, okay, enough is enough. We're just going to go to the hospital.
Right.
So we go to the hospital, and she just, I've already shared with her at this point that I've kind of had these thoughts of killing myself. I'm not serious about it, but, I've thought about it more than I have in the past, which is very unusual for me. So we get there, and she tells them to get us in there and to get us somebody seen that, hey, my husband's suicidal. Help us out. We need some help. We didn't know what to do other than that.
Right.
especially, I don't know, we just didn't know. This whole mental health thing was just not even on our radar of
Yeah.
what even the options were.
Right.
So we get in there, and they did the typical vital thing and brought in their psychiatrist and all that, and tried to explain to her what was going on with me, but it just, I can't explain to her. She understood it as, she told my wife these exact words, that he's in a living hell in his mind.
Yep.
And I mean, okay, that's pretty much it, but she didn't want to prescribe me anything. She didn't want to give me, they didn't give me any resources. I mean,
Nothing
hell,
at
here
all.
I am. Huh?
Nothing at all. Just,
Nothing at
hey,
all. This was,
good luck.
they discharged me. I mean, I'm suicidal. They know I'm a first responder,
Yeah.
and I'm not blaming the hospital, man. They probably, I don't know. Yeah, they got such weird,
Right.
protocols too. So no
Yeah.
blame on them, man. They're just trying to do their job too.
Right.
Which, it's just crazy though to me that they can just let somebody out the damn door
Yeah.
and go on. You're good.
Right.
So a few weeks passes by. I go see my doctor, get on some meds. They may have worked, they may have not. Felt a little bit better. I really can't say it was great.
Yeah.
Go to a counselor one time, an outside of the hospital counselor,
And you were
psychiatrist
still
type.
working this whole time, right? When you were,
Yeah, I
when
was
all this
still
was going
working.
on.
I was still doing those weird. So yeah, through this whole time, I'm doing those weird like moments where the anxiety's so bad at work that I just have to go to my bunk and like chill,
Yeah. Yep.
just get away from everything. And it's just weird.
Right.
So yeah, and still on my days off, just kind of laying in bed or watching TV. Man, that's so unlike me.
Yeah.
And I go see this guy, and we do a initial inpatient type deal. They got to talk to you, get your background and all that. And he didn't do it, but I could just see him right then and there at the end of this session that he probably just internally shrugging his shoulders and going,
Don't know what to
I
do.
don't know.
Yeah.
It just, there wasn't even a follow up thing. It was like pretty much like, we're not seeing you back here because it's not gonna be any reason.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So
They
I'm
just
just
didn't know
like,
what
okay,
to do, right? I mean,
no,
is that how
I
you
don't
took it?
think so. That's how I took it. I think that I may have not been explaining it correctly either, but at least start somewhere, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
maybe it
one
all
visit,
comes
I
out.
mean, one visit's not going to do, you
No,
don't
and
even know each other really by that time.
yeah.
You know,
So I insisted that I get back there, but I
just
mean,
never
there
did.
wasn't. No, I just didn't feel good about it. It
Yeah.
just wasn't that. Oh yeah, this is gonna help.
Yeah.
Which I guess a lot of times you think that even when that real help is there. But anyways, continue on. Things seem to just kind of that realm of laying in bed all day. I finally had to just start forcing myself to kind of just get out of it.
Yeah.
Quit just being in that crap. I guess I just forced myself in some ways. Life just went on, buried it, whatever
Yeah.
it is. I guess so. Now we're coming up into 2017, 2018 area. As a child, I had a lot of alcoholics in my family, and I drank back in high school
Yeah.
a lot. Uh, took a pretty, I would say I was a heavy drinker in high school. I could almost consider myself an alcoholic at some point in high school, I would think. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure somebody would probably diagnose me as that.
Right.
Uh, kind of got out of that little uh drinking thing for a while in my 20s. Got into some sports and really just it was hindering that. So I kind of had my mind on other things.
Right.
Got done with sports. Drinking was a little bit more easy to do. Got back into that, and it was just convenient.
Yeah.
2020 rolls around, and so we're locked in, but liquor stores are still open. I remember this now talking. I literally walked into the liquor store one day, beer store, whatever you want to call it. And there was about 4 people working in there and a couple of customers. And I said, well, dang, I guess COVID ain't shut down all the liquor stores for us alcoholics, have they? And nobody really laughed or even said anything. Huh?
Yeah.
They probably thought this dude is, damn, okay. Just loudmouth being weird.
It's true though, right? They wasn't going to shut them liquor stores down for sure.
No. And I was like, man, just trying to make a joke out of it, knowing dang good and well I was there to get drunk. But so was everybody else. So whatever.
Right. Yep.
I'm drinking steadily and it's picking up and I'm having fun with it. It's a good old time, and got the pool here at the house, and it was hot. So, all summer long, we're just doing that and drinking and, mainly me drinking.
2017. That was about the first time that I went through some of my junk. It was around that time. And I remember coming to you and talking to you about some stuff, about medicines and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I do remember that specific phone call. I was in my shop working that day, and I remember just the question you asked of, hey, those meds you taking, they still helping you out?
Yeah, that was the second time that I went through.
Yeah, that was your second time through this shit. And it kind of struck me. I was like, yeah. And I never really followed up with that, which nowadays that would have been a totally different story. I would have definitely, that would have been like a follow-up. Sure, we're educated.
Yep.
So it's during COVID and all that. Have a loss of during this time lost my father-in-law to COVID, having to deal with all of that junk. That was tough. Seeing my wife, distraught and all that too. Time goes on, passes on, and from that, and my drinking is still steady. Now I'm to the point where this is a very toxic environment for me. It's definitely a downward spiral at this point, because I have a job that I don't want to go to. I feel trapped in this career because I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Because of the bullcrap, station life, and the calls, and I just don't want to go there anymore. But I have no other option.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, so that's what I'm doing on my off days now, is just drinking. Kids aren't in school, so there's no responsibility of having to worry about going and getting them. But it eventually turns into me just, I'd run out of beer and I'd go get more, and this was a drunk driving thing at this point.
Yeah.
So risky behavior starts really, really being done up in my standards. In my standards of risky behavior, that's
right.
That is
driving drunk would be risky behavior, bro. You know that.
I say in my standards because I'm pretty sure that there might be some people say, oh, that ain't too bad, but it's pretty serious.
We know the outcome really of what that can cause, just by the jobs that we do. Yeah.
Right. So I'm thinking, man, around town or whatever, I'm just driving around, and going here and going there, but I'm at the same time thinking, what, if I got a DWI, so what? It'd just give me an out. I could just leave it. It would be my way out of this situation, and it would force my hand.
Right.
Which is crazy to think, that somebody could get to that place, that kind of logic. I wouldn't even call it logic, but, so I'm in this cycle of risky behavior, drinking, feeling bad about it, going to work, regretting it. The cycle continues the next 2 days that we're off, and breaking down at work by myself and having nervous breakdowns internally and crying and thinking I shouldn't have done that. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Just the shame and guilt of it. Then at some point, I remember the old thoughts of how to kill myself were creeping back in, and I remember just hours upon hours, and I know I'm not exaggerating.
Was there something that triggered you to that point during that those thoughts coming back around? Was there something was it a call, or was it just the constant spiraling you down, or did you run a bad call that kind of triggered that, or what was it? Or do you remember?
So I did have a bad call. I think this was twofold. It was one thing that was like I mentioned, I think I just felt trapped in my whole situation. That I didn't know what else to do as a career.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do this anymore. I was almost there to retirement. I don't know if I can hold on for 4 or 5 more years to draw it. And then, there's another call that just like, when my boy was, under 1 year old, now I get a call with an 8-year-old, and he's also 8, ejected on the highway, and they were on their way to church as a family. I think it was around a family of 6 or 7.
Mm.
Just that whole scene in itself was just the most hurt, the most from the family members, like just chaos that I've seen.
Yeah.
And that was the first call where I actually thought I was actually not going to be able to be fit for duty anymore, because I did my job there initially. We did what we could. Just too many injuries that were sustained that wasn't going to matter for what we were doing.
Yep.
So now it's a personalization call again, and it's just, I remember breaking down in the middle of the highway with at least 75 people, maybe 100 people out there with bystanders and other first responders from other cities, and just absolutely wondering why this is the first call ever that now I can't perform to the capacity that I have always. And I remember going into the back of the ambulance, initially helping out, and I said, you know what? I got to step out. I got to have another guy come in here and handle this, because I'm not going to be valuable to you right now. And me saying those words was like, what? I mean, that's what I'm here. That's what I was born to do.
Yeah.
Was to be valuable in these situations. And it was like, wow. I mean, I actually said that. So then I had, so that goes on. And then that whole situation happens. And then something that in other times that I've told this story that I didn't mention, but I remember now, is that during this time, it was football season for Carter.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember going to practice the next day or 2 days after this incident. And one of the coaches on the team below him, grade wise, it was his nephew. And another personalization thing there. And what's really, just sent it all off again, and it just feeling so bad for them. And it's just crazy, hitting home so close.
Right. Yeah. Wow, bro. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's golly. I had no idea until I showed up to that practice, and I'm thinking, there was a prayer circle going on and all this stuff, and started asking questions, and I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Holy crap. I connected dots, and they're like, I left the situation completely. I didn't even tell them that I was there. None of that stuff. I didn't even want that to be a thing. Yeah. So you have this these calls that are coming in that are getting really, really dicey for you mentally, and this whole trap thing.
Yep.
So I'm done at this point. Like, I don't know what else to do. The thoughts of suicide are really coming into play. Like, planning to this point is really getting serious.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I'm also like this weird, like, I don't know how to explain it, but almost like your brain is almost soothed when you think about this out, because it's a fix. And when you're in that, it's a fix.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I just have to say it that way. It's
Yep.
not a fix. Let me be very clear.
Yeah.
That it is not a fix. But so if you are going through something like that, we'll definitely help you with the fix for sure.
Yeah. It's very hard to explain that, but it's like, I don't know if it's like kind of you're getting no resolution anywhere else, like through your healing, and then all of a sudden they'll start eluding in your mind, or start coming into your mind, and it's almost like I know what you're saying. It's weird.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a devil thing in my mind, playing
oh yeah,
mind games.
yeah, for
So
sure. I
anyway,
100% agree with you, because I know a lot of people don't even go to that realm of things, but
yeah.
no, I mean, we're 100% on board with that.
Right.
So now it's 2022. I get there. There's one of these situations that is so the like that call was like the last straw, and then you have these stupid little situations that the last straw of the straws, where it's just something that happens at the station. All of a sudden, you just go off
Yeah.
to the point where you're so embarrassed, you have no idea what's going on, because somebody was just clowning around with you, and all of a sudden it turned into some serious stuff. And
Yeah.
that then and there was it. That was like, okay, I can't even handle that. I gotta do something.
Yeah.
So
Was that the day you called me?
let me back up a little bit. During this, between the call and the time that this happened, the last straw, I would say, the incident at the station or whatever, there was a time period in there where these thoughts and plannings of suicide were getting real, real serious, to the point where I acted on this. I don't know if you want to call it acted, but it was, I mean, as close as you can get without doing it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not going to sit here and, you get some people, I don't want to say this, but some people might get to the point in these stories where, man, it's just too much to say, or it's time to be real. And it's time to let folks know that my story is this is the way it could have wound up. So
It's your story, bro. You tell it how you want to tell it.
Yeah.
And as much as you want to tell,
Yeah. So I'm drinking one night, and I get to this place where I know that I mean, got guns everywhere. I know that that's obviously an option. So I get to the point where I'm just blitzed, drunk, just out of it. And studies show that, 9 times out of 10, that substance, alcohol, drugs, whatever it may be, is going to be part of somebody's suicide. And it's true.
Yeah.
So I go to my closet, and I did, I grabbed my gun, and I went as far as putting it in my mouth and squeezing the safety trigger down on the trigger on a Glock 19.
Yeah.
And at that point, I mean, it was only just a little bit more pressure that it was going. But I either got scared, I either got something. It just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And I'm so, man, thank God it wasn't meant to be.
Yep.
Gosh, I mean, every time I say that, and it hadn't been often, I mean, it really creeps me out. It really is so strange to say
Scary as
that I
hell is
got
what
to
it
that
is.
place.
Yeah. It's scary,
It's
bro.
creepy.
Yeah.
I knew without a shadow of a doubt, that was it. If
Yep.
I did not get help, if I did not get some relief, some thing going, it was bound to happen at some point. One of
Yeah.
my plans was going to go through and it was just going to happen.
Yep.
And I knew this. So shortly after that, uh, going into, before we get to getting into the help side of things, I remember seeing your Facebook page post one night. I was drunk this night too. And this was after I had stuck that gun in my mouth and
Mm-hmm.
went so far as to do all that. I saw a post on Facebook that you posted. I can't remember what it was about, but it touched me so much. And like, I just let it all out. I cried and I called you right then and I told you what happened. And lo and behold, I didn't realize it, but my wife was in the house at that point and she heard the conversation, at least my side of it.
Yeah.
And she came in there shocked. I mean, of course, shocked.
Sure. Yeah.
Probably can't describe it.
Mm-hmm.
I let her know this was what was going on. And, golly, it just crazy whirlwind at that point.
Yeah.
It wasn't no ignoring at this point.
I remember that. I remember the call, and us talking. And it's not a good place to be, man, for anybody, especially for a brother, that you worked with for so many years. And it's just, I think I had just got back on duty. Is that right?
Yeah, were, because I called you because I knew that you had already been through a bunch of crap again, and you had gotten some treatment. And, so you were already relatable in a way.
Yeah.
And
well, the good thing was
for 10 years.
At that time, resources were already starting to get built, right? And I think we were like in the infancy stages of peer group time, getting our peer group going. I don't even know if it had really even started yet, but we were like, the talks were going with Chief saying, hey, this has got to happen kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think I had taken some classes through the international, so I'd had a little bit of training at that time.
Oh yeah. And so it was this point in time where, and so y'all know too, at this time it wasn't spending time with the family. It was outside drinking. It was in the shop running power tools, drinking. It was risky behavior there. I mean, hell, I could have lost hands and fingers. And I was thinking to myself, well, it would let me get out of this career at least.
Yeah.
Like, just weird thinking, just crazy stuff. Not that I would purposely do it. It just, whatever.
Yeah, he didn't care.
Didn't care. So I'm not spending time with my family during this time, and I'm practically, there's a couple years there I didn't even see my family grow up like as a unit. My kids, here and there, but man, I was out. I was checked out.
Mm-hmm.
So, once that came out, that phone call to you and Melissa, like it snowballed into a great thing. It didn't really necessarily happen immediately. But I do remember, so at this point in time, this is when the situation at work happened. It was like the last straw that I could handle. And this wasn't even a call thing. This was just station life stuff.
Yeah.
I remember coming in the next shift, cussing everybody up a storm that morning at shift change at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. Whoever was in earshot was hearing it. y'all ain't doing this to me anymore. Y'all aren't, just really just giving it to them. I mean,
Yeah.
they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. They absolutely, like, this dude has lost some shit.
Yeah.
And that's when I broke down right then and there, and I said, I can't do it anymore. I can't be here. I can't be here. I need something.
Yep.
And that's when I remember you coming up there that day, the same day, and getting things rolling.
You called me that morning, if you don't remember, but you called me that morning, and I remember.
There was a lot of stuff going on. I mean, I knew
when you called me. I mean, it was 7 to 8 o'clock in the morning, right?
Yeah. It was early because by the time, I mean, I don't even remember, dude. I was in such a nervous breakdown at 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I went through that whole rampage of cussing and telling everybody off, and then I
remember getting that phone call, and I told my wife, I'm like, I got to go. I got to go up here to work. Something's going on with Brooksy. I remember getting up there like as fast as I could, and it was just like, okay, are you ready?
Yeah, you knew.
Yeah,
you knew a brother was ready.
Yeah,
and thank God that there was. I can't imagine. The second time that you were kind of lost in limbo on what to do, that was kind of my first time. But I'm so thankful that for the second time of going through some stuff that, you were there, and there was some experiences already done. And because, man, I can't imagine being messed up mentally, going through a big fog, and then not only that, having to figure it out too. So the help side of it. That's when
so many years went by uneducated on resources, and something as simple as just, we sat at the kitchen table and we bullcrapped after bad calls, right?
Right.
And just talked through it. And that's a lot of times that's all it really takes. It's just, you're doing peer stuff and you don't even know you're doing peer stuff.
Exactly. And 99% of the time, and that stuff works and it sloughs off, and it's like, okay, going back to
then
it.
There's those times that, you run those pediatric calls or whatever, bad trauma calls, and it takes a little bit more than just that,
Right.
We wasn't doing those things, for whatever reason. We just didn't have the resources there. So,
right. You'd hear about it.
Yeah. I had, between the first and the second time that I kind of went through this stuff, I took a course. It was a peer course is what it was, but I'd learned a little bit about the EMDR stuff, and dude, it made all the difference in the world for me,
Well, I get into that program, different counselor, but same overall parent program.
Yep.
I get connected with a group of firemen that was, it wasn't substance abuse altogether. It was alcohol abuse. It wasn't everything else. Now, some of those guys had done other things, but that was the main gear towards that group. And then there was other groups with other things that they maybe be addicted to.
Yeah.
So I got connected with them, and I was going once a week all the way up into Frisco doing that and enjoying it, hearing them.
Well, you knew you wasn't alone. You wasn't the only one that was dealing with the crap, and that's a very hard thing to go through, and not knowing that there's other guys out there that are dealing with the same crap, right? It's like you're the only one. That's how I felt. Like I was alone.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Especially in the realm that we're in, like, man, you don't think that other guys are struggling with this in our industry.
Yeah, you talking about lose hope. It's like there's nobody out there that knows what I'm going through.
Yeah, and you damn sure ain't going to say anything about it.
No, it's just the opposite of that. There's a lot of guys out there that go through it, right? That don't want to say anything because of the stigma. It's that weakness that people think it's a weakness. It's not a weakness. It's just something that you go through.
Yeah.
You just got to be willing to stand up and say enough is enough. I'm not going to deal with this crap anymore,
Yeah.
And get the right help, get to the right clinicians, the vetted clinicians, the vetted doctors that know how we live our lives as first responders, fire, police, EMS, whatever it may be. We're just a little bit, our stuff is just a little bit different. So,
and going off of that, there may be somebody listening that's like, I don't know a name for that, or I don't know what this is, or what that, you know what? If you're needing help, that's where the PhDs and the doctorate degrees come in, and you ain't got to know a name for it right now. Just,
Yeah.
Raise your hand and be counted, because
Say, yeah, I need help.
yeah, that's it. That's down the road, all those types of things, but you're going to initially get some stuff. So yeah, going into that aspect of it, I get into that treatment program,
Mm-hmm.
and it's all outpatient. It ain't nothing,
Right.
I'm at home for 3 months, but off work, getting out of that stressful environment. So that's helping. That's step one.
Yep.
Just like we're trained in our jobs to get somebody out of the heat. If they're having a heat emergency or cold, get them out of the cold. Basic life survival. So getting out of the stressful environment, and their doctors start checking hormones and blood tests, and start figuring out, okay, well, that's off and this is off. So they get all that intact, along with the counseling at the same time. And then that peer support group for the alcoholics, so all of this stuff has happened all at one time. And at first it's like nothing's happening. And then a few weeks in, you're like, whoa, I feel insane good.
Yeah.
This is okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm not as crazy as I might have been crazy, but I wasn't crazy.
There was a reason. There was a reason behind this craziness, right? Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. You're validated. You're validated in what you were doing.
Absolutely.
In how you were feeling, I should say.
Yeah.
So it continues on, and it's a year and some odd months now that it's no alcohol for me. It's put in so many situations now where
awesome,
I don't even care about that stuff. It's not a here I am bragging, because I know that there's a lot of people out there that struggle with that, and it's hard.
Yeah.
And I know that it may have just been one of those deals where it lined up for me right, that I was able to get off of it pretty quick.
Yeah.
I think it was. I obviously know it was the Lord helping there, but I think it was all the other things together as one coming together.
Yep.
And really locking this in.
Yeah. You got to, all those things put together, right? For me, it was,
doing
the counseling, being on the right medicine, if you need it. Some people don't need it. Some people do. All that stuff together, it's like,
that's it.
That perfect combination.
That is a great way to put it. It's a great combination there. And so Tom is doing, it's spending time with the family now instead of isolating. It's really seeing my family grow up and be a part of that. It's not yelling at them every 30 seconds now. It's not being the asshole at work. It's not.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, I'm super proud of you. I mean, I saw both sides of that, just like you've seen both sides of my story. It's way better on this side. It's way better seeing you on this side. It's way better to sit on this side with you, right?
Same, yeah.
And I'm just like super proud that you took that step and you got help, and you're part of the peer team now. You're one of the lead guys on our peer team. Yeah, dude, it's exciting, and I'm super proud of you. And just
awesome, man.
Great stuff, bro.
I
love that story.
It is great. And nowadays it's you look at such little things and think, man, if I wasn't here for that, or golly, I could have missed that. I mean, it's just something as simple as me going out there and catching fish, or seeing the kids do something simple, or I don't know. It's just,
you're
it's
able
awesome.
to enjoy life in a different way now.
It is. Sure. And I guess one thing that I would leave with, I would just say let's say that you're in one of these organizations of a department, police, fire, EMS, it doesn't matter, whatever it is, dispatch. And you don't have a title of leadership, but you've been there a while, you have some merit, some credibility, you're a leader there, and your story matters. If you've been through some stuff, people listen to that. People love transparency.
Yeah.
As much as I feared it, it really is freeing. But on the side note of that too, a lot of people will, and I'm speaking to leadership, actual leadership at these organizations at this point. If you're listening, if there is somebody that needs help, this isn't just, made up stuff. This isn't because, you grew up with thinking that this stuff doesn't exist, but truth is truth, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah.
And so just be patient with some of your subordinates.
Yeah.
If they need help, retaliating in a way that would be more detrimental to their mental health is definitely not the way to go. I'm going to say that I won't name the city, but they have here in the Metroplex, they already, and I know they're not the only one, but I just heard it from them, that they have a SOP in the city handbook that they don't get reprimanded for going and having mental health leave or getting help. They have a job to come back to.
Yep.
Because that's who's good at the job is them.
Yeah.
Us. We're good at the job. We just need a little bit of help sometimes. So
a little bit of grace sometimes.
That's it. We're not robots, but we're not psychopaths either. I mean, we feel things.
We're human.
So, I know that I'm not trying to change. I'm not going to change anybody's mind. Maybe I can. There comes a time where you either believe this stuff is real or not. And guys, it's showing itself that it's real through statistics.
Sure it is. I mean, I read some of the numbers, man. I mean, look at the numbers.
Absolutely. And thank you for saying the numbers, because some people are in that data mindset.
Yeah.
Where that maybe they have an accountant mind, or they like data. Yeah. And they need to hear that. So that's good. I mean,
2018, 119 suicides. And this includes firefighters, EMTs, and dispatchers. 2018, 119. 2019, 148. 2020, 132. 2021, 107. 2022, 93. And then where we're at today.
Yeah.
2023, already at 52 suicides for the year. It's unacceptable. We got to do something to change this. I mean.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I like it that, you know what? You shared your story. God's led you to do this podcast to save lives. I've shared my story, and it's about them at this point. That it's about that person in the need, for sure.
Yeah.
100%. This is gonna be doing some great things.
Yeah. Well, thank you, brother, for coming on. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I'm glad you shared your story. I think it's going to touch many lives out there. I know that it's touched mine. I mean, you've been an instrumental part in my healing, bro. I don't know if you know that, but you have.
Same here.
Yeah. So we're going to keep kicking butt on that peer team stuff and just
that's right.
Be there for our guys, the best that we can. And we're going to keep moving forward. Before we close up, I just want to drop it. I do on every podcast. 988, the suicide and crisis lifeline. If somebody out there is struggling, or somebody that is, don't be afraid to call. Reach out for help. For some reason you don't feel like you can call that number, get in touch with us, freeburn2023 at gmail.com, or reach out to us on social media. We're just about I think we're on every platform now. But if we don't know, we're going to find a place, right? We're going to find the right resource for you. So
can you touch on let the audience know about confidentiality, that how serious that is?
Yeah. I mean, guys that are coming on this program, they want to tell their story, right? This is just an avenue for them to come tell their story, to get their stories out there and help break that stigma. If you don't want anybody to know that you're going through problems, then that's completely okay. Confidentiality is there. We don't say anything to anybody, you know. That's just the way it is. You know, if you don't want nobody to know, we're not going to say nothing. You know, we're going to put you to the right people that are not going to say nothing. So don't let that be a deterrent to you if you need help. So confidentiality is there. You know, guys like me and Adam and guys that are coming on this program, we want to tell our stories. We're just to a point now to where we don't care anymore. We want people to know that it's something that you can go through as a first responder, and it's okay to reach out for help. It's okay not to be okay.
Yes,
it's okay to be okay. So, you know, that confidentiality is there. So don't be afraid to reach out if you need help. Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir, for the invite. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. And I look forward to the next one whenever you come on again, because we'll probably check back in with you and see how things are going down the road. So that's about it, brother. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
You need me, I'm here. You know that.
Absolutely.
I'll see you in a few days.
Okay.
All right, brother.
See you, man.
Be careful. All right.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Free Burn 2023 podcast. If you or somebody you know is in crisis, reach out to the Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 988. Or if you're looking for counseling resources, contact us at freeburn2023@gmail.com. We'll do our best to get you to where you need to be. Let's keep burning that stigma, one podcast at a time.